Greetings, Andover. I'm coming to you from the Cubby in my home office. As you know, our weekly video messages are intended to share the love for Andover and connect the Andover community in inspiring ways. I am delighted to have 4 retiring legends of the faculty join me in the Cubby today. Holley, Mary Mulligan, Bill Scott, and Therese Zemlin. We'll get to our conversation with our esteemed faculty in a moment, but first, let's get to the highlights of our non-sibi efforts. Spring is in full bloom across campus. The Greener Quad, the Elm Walk, and Abbott Circle, and the Garden of Eden are ablaze with color. Master gardener and math instructor Sean Fulford planted dozens of tulip and daffodil bulbs last fall with the help of an Abbott grant. Local alumni have filled in for student caretakers this spring. Thank you, Ramphis, class of 19, Howie, class of 07, and Nate, class of 03, for helping to sustain this amazing landscape. Doing their part to address food insecurity are Emily, class of 21, and Arnav, class of 22. Together with a group of passionate classmates, they have created a nonprofit called STEM for Free. Their organization partners with bakeries and restaurants to donate leftovers to food banks, nursing homes, and hospitals. With 100 representatives in Massachusetts, Minnesota, Texas, California, and India, STEM for Free has donated more than 2,300 meals worldwide. Back in Andover, Ayamurata's motivational messages adorn the sidewalks of School Street, and they have caught the attention of walkers and joggers and even the local newspaper. Aya's public art has even some folks stopping for a game of hopscotch. A recent message reads, "May today bring you joy, love, and hope." We will end on that sidewalk note from Aya and introduce this week's guests. Hold on for a moment. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This week, I am delighted to welcome 4 retiring legends of the faculty. Holley, instructor in biology for 38 years. Mary Mulligan, instructor in history and social science for 36 years. Bill Scott, instructor in mathematics for 33 years. And Therese Zemlin, instructor in art for 18 years. Collectively, these mighty individuals have devoted 125 years to Andover. And that is the kind of responsibility that makes Andover great. Thank you, all of you. If you have the chance to read more about them, you will find that they have taught, they have coached, they have managed dorms, they have mentored students, they have chaired their departments and shared their wisdom and their craft. But most of all, they have captivated decades of students with their commitment to our standard of excellence and our students' thirst for new knowledge. They have done everything Andover has asked, and so much more. So you are all accomplished in your different disciplines, and you approach teaching in a myriad of ways, but you share one common characteristic: humility. I happen to know that none of you enjoys being in the spotlight. So let's try to redirect that spotlight a little bit for a moment and ask some questions. I know all of you have heard me say throughout the years that no one goes through Andover alone. And that is true for both students and faculty. So I am wondering, and I'll start with you, Mary, who are the mentors and guides that have helped you along the way in your journey through Andover?
That's a hard question. If I started, it would be a very, very long list of people. So I think just the general answer to that is that my colleagues from the first day I came to campus until whenever it is I leave, there's just something about, when I think of a mentor, I think of a trusted advisor, someone who has wisdom to share, a confidant, but who can guide through those stickier situations. And my colleagues have done that day in and day out. I don't think I would have, most of what I've done has been dependent on what I've learned from the other people that are here.
It's so nice. That's so nice. And thank you too for all of your help. As you know, guiding me throughout this year as a friend and colleague. It's been great. And so,
My
Therese,
pleasure.
how about you? How would you describe mentors and guides that have helped you along the way?
I think even starting before I arrived on campus back in 2002, I think back to, to Steve Carter, who was, such a huge help in orienting me towards what teaching and living at a boarding school would be like. I think of Elaine Crivelli, who was department chair when I was hired. So right off, right from the start, she was very instrumental in helping me, kind of get going at Andover. But I think I, like Mary, I also feel like there are so many people who have been supportive along the way that I hate to start. If I start listing people, I'll leave someone out.
Right.
Who was a huge help.
Yeah, thank you. Bill, how about you?
I kind of ditto on what Mary and Therese said. If I had to pick one person, it would be George Best, for the simple reason that I happened to arrive at Andover in 1987, and I taught in the classroom next to George. And that was serendipity. And so George and I would, between classes, he'd poke his nose in my room, and he took an interest in me in my first year. And interestingly, in 1987, there was a downturn in the economy, and the stock market hit the skids late that year. And George came into my classroom one morning in October and said, with a grin on his face, "Last one in, first one out." And and here we are in another economic downturn. But I just share that cute little story. And of course, George took great interest in getting me launched. And so there are lots of other people along the way who, like George, supported me and made me feel like I belonged. So
Yeah, thank you. That's so nice. And George was a real friend to me too, many years ago. I appreciate that. Leon, how about you? Biology.
I don't think there's much space for me to anything that hasn't been already said. I would just say the nature of our discipline is collaborative, so
Right.
there's really no way there's no way to function in our department if you're not collaborating with everybody. Even the teaching fellows are making a contribution, as recent graduates of college. So to the oldest, all the way to the youngest. I mean, it's really been a collaborative experience for me.
That's wonderful. Let's talk for a minute. How do students fit into the mix of forces that are inspiring? And in your mind, what makes Andover students so special? Anyone would like to offer? Bill, do you want to talk about that? What makes Andover students so special?
I think that I'm just so surprised each year how industrious, hardworking the kids are. It's really hit me in a big way, actually, towards the end of my career when I started developing a lot of digital content and I could track their progress. And especially now this spring, teaching online, you can follow the kids' digital footprint, and kids work hard. Yeah. And I just marvel at the industry of the kids. The culture of the school is one where people see value in work and see value in academia, and it feeds on itself. So that's been pretty cool.
And Therese, would you like to offer a little bit about what makes Andover students so special?
It's our students, and I think the whole generation. I think the students are perpetually optimistic. I think they want to change the world in really valuable ways, and those are the things about our students that that really give me hope for the future.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And Leon, how about you? What do you think makes Andover students so special?
I think there's tremendous talent in the student body. I mean, when they arrive, obviously they've been chosen from thousands of applicants, and so when that amount of talent is in the room with you, I mean, it can only be a really positive experience. Others have used adjectives, hardworking, they're driven, they're curious. I mean, it's the perfect storm.
Nice. Mary, would you like to reflect a little bit about what makes Andover students so special?
No, I agree with what my friends have said. But also one thing I've enjoyed a lot in the classroom is the varied perspectives that come into the classroom. They're there at the same time. And it's kept me from becoming complacent. It's forced me not to get into kind of a rut in my own thinking, which I think happens sometimes as we get older. There's just always someone challenging the way I thought something was. And that's just a great dynamic.
And let me stick with you for a moment, Mary. What aspects of your history lessons do you hope will stick with our students throughout college and beyond?
Well, I can tell you first what won't stick, and that's all those timelines and all those dates and all those facts and all those people. But that doesn't stick for anybody, which is why I have notes all over my desk every time I teach a class. I hope what will stick is, though, that history is complicated. The truth is complex about the past, and the truth about the past is also always evasive. And you just have to be able to function in that ambiguous place to be a good history student, and to learn from history. And then I think history is only invaluable to us if we're skeptical of it on the one hand, and also are willing to let it inform us in the present on the other hand.
Very good. Yeah, very good. I'm living through that right now, actually, in the present iteration of my position. So, Bill, let me turn to you. You learned to code and even taught digital pioneer Sal Khan a few things late in your career here. What did you find so compelling about that opportunity to join Andover with Khan Academy?
What a interesting thing to have late in one's career. I mean, I actually had no idea what I was stepping into. And I developed a good friendship with Sal and a team of younger, educators in Silicon Valley. And it turned into quite an adventure, to be honest. I had no real understanding about how online education worked. I had a general sense, but and there are a lot of thoughtful people who work at Khan Academy who've given us a lot of working with students online a ton of thought. And so when I signed up for it, I went into it having actually no idea. And about 16 months later, I led a group of Andover faculty members through this. We created 3,000 problems for Khan Academy in calculus. And it took a long time, a lot of us working at it. But the interesting thing is that when we developed this, we couldn't imagine that we'd be using it in the Phillips Academy classroom, because Sal Khan kept on saying, don't make it too hard and think about the masses. And then what happened was some of us started using it in the Andover classroom as homework problems, and if you will, kind of the warm-up homework problems.
Yeah.
And the kids took to it. The kids loved it. And so suddenly it started informing my teaching in ways that I never imagined it would. And this spring, teaching online actually was an easy transition for me and my students, just because it was kind of more of the same, a little bit different focus, obviously, but the transition was pretty seamless.
I'm always, as you spoke, I am reminded of Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers, and the number of hours, 10,000 hours, you know, that students I know put into some of the things they practice. And I realize some of that I have understood from students has come in the form of trying those many problems online and actually helping to create some of those problems, which was very exciting. So thank you for engaging them in that way. And speaking of all these 10,000 hours, Therese, let's talk about you and how your teaching has been informed through your professional career as an artist.
Well, you know, I don't think it's an original statement, but, you know, if you're really going to learn to do something, you're going to learn something, you teach it. And in the process of figuring out how to teach it, you really learn it. And that's been, you know, I have found that true throughout my career, my teaching career and my, you know, art making career. And it's interesting how things kind of leapfrog across each other. So for instance, in the process of developing a new assignment, you know, I'll do that assignment to make sure that it's going to work before I roll it out to the students. And there have been assignments that I've come up with or that I've gotten from other colleagues, and I do the assignment, and 5 years later, I'm still doing the assignment. You know, it's taken different iterations, and, you know, I've taken it different places and different scale, but I'm still doing that. And then maybe that leapfrogs and evolves into something that I then take back to the students again. So it's an organic, ongoing process where the teaching informs the studio practice, and the studio practice informs the teaching. And, you know, I think especially having the privilege of teaching the Art 600 class for all these years, especially in that situation where the students are kind of working on their own, you know, I really try to practice what I preach to the students. And if I'm expecting them to have a regular studio practice, I, you know, put that on myself as well.
It's always wonderful to see your exhibits and your work featured over the years. It's terrific. So Leon, let's turn to you for a moment and think about and reflect on what part of Andover will stay with you about your professional career as you head off into the sunset of retirement.
I think without question it'll be the diverse community that we have, the intentional diverse community that we have, the effort to bring in, you know, to use the often used, you know, slogan, you know, the youth from every quarter thing. That's I'm not sure that that's found in many places outside of a school like the Academy. You know, we take it for granted. And Andover has, you know, has built this place on that. But once you leave, that kind of intentionality, I'm not sure. Well, no, for me, I am sure it's not present. And so I know I'm going to miss that. That'll be the thing that I'll miss most.
Thank you. I thought you were going to reference our time together on the Access to Success Committee, which I always so highly valued your input and your partnership and collaboration during that experience. And just to acknowledge, that was a lot of work over a couple of years, and I thought you were terrific in the voice that you provided during the sequence of understanding how we might serve our students better. So thank you for that. The pandemic has challenged every one of us in ways we could never have imagined, and seniors in particular are feeling a great sense of loss. What are your parting messages to the class of 2020? What do you hope they will take from their Andover experience, Mary?
Oh, wow. Well, I hope they'll take intellectual risks. I hope they'll take ideological risks. I hope they've learned to always skip over the easy answer because it's usually the wrong answer. And I hope that they'll stay hopeful and optimistic, even though this isn't what they had hoped for this year, 2020. And most importantly, I hope they've learned that it's great to be hopeful and optimistic, but they each need to do their own part to create a more just world.
Thank you. Leon, would you like to offer some parting words to the class of 2020?
Yeah, this isn't an original thought, but I heard President Obama say this in his remarks to the graduating class. If you're going to do anything big, you can't do it by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You got to have other people do it, or you've got to have other people help you do it, and you have to build a community. I guess it fits all under that idea of community, but I hope the class of 2020, I know they want to do big things, so I hope they will not try to do it by themselves, and they'll seek out others to
Thank you.
get that work done.
Therese, how do you feel about offering some words of wisdom to the class of 2020?
Well, I guess I would hope that the students all, make a place in their lives for the arts, whether it's music or theater and dance or visual art or all of those things. And, I wish the class of 2020 well. And I have to say that, I have a lot of faith and a lot of trust in this group to do what's right in this world. So congratulations.
Yes.
And Bill, what would you like to offer the class of 2020 and hope that they will take from their Andover experience?
I think my colleagues said it really well. I hope that they found a way to keep their friendships alive this spring and this new and virtual way that they're good at. And I actually hope that in this bizarre little twist here, that perhaps their way of reaching out to each other in these last few months can somehow spill into the future, and so that they keep these friendships alive for years, decades to come. And I do hope that they're all able to make it to campus sometime in the future when we get to celebrate them. And I know that, Jim, you're working on that, and
We are.
I hope that that we can realize that in a timely manner. So
We will. Thank you, Bill. And thank you too, Bill, for all of that time together we spent in admissions and working through the dynamics of various athletes in your career here, and also helping to reformat the math placement exam, which has been really so helpful to us. You've been a great partner over the years. And thank you to all of you for your generous conversation today and for 125 years of devotion to Andover. And I know that you prefer to dodge the spotlight, but you will forever illuminate what is best about Andover: knowledge, goodness, and the highest regard for the pursuit of excellence. Thank you for your service and your leadership. And remember, to all of you, try to find your personal way to fall in love with Andover. And while you may feel isolated, you're never alone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Jim Ventre, class of 79, interim head of school, 15.5, Mary, signing off from the Cubby. Thank you all. Much obliged.